just so disgusting.
Like, why lie? It was just so truly, truly bizarre.
What if one of the most buzzed-about royal births wasn't exactly what the world was told? For years, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry painted Archie's arrival as a story of privacy, secrecy, and standing strong against palace control. That was the tale everyone believed, until now. Critics are turning up the volume, confident, bold, and claiming they've got proof to challenge that version of events. At the center of the noise is Candace Owens, calling out what she says are major inconsistencies in Meghan's pregnancy timeline. She points to interviews, memoir excerpts, and reports about hospital details that, in her view, just don't match up. Supporters of Meghan and Harry say these claims are pure speculation, but critics insist the gaps are too big to ignore. Either way, the argument is getting heated. Much of the focus lands on Prince Harry's own memoir, where he describes Archie's birth at the Portland Hospital in London as both intense and calm at the same time. According to his account, Meghan received 2 epidurals and left the hospital only hours after giving birth. On paper, it sounds like a smooth and quick experience at a top-tier hospital, but some medical voices online are questioning if that kind of turnaround is typical. They argue that epidurals often require extended monitoring and that recovery times can vary widely depending on each situation.
I was instantly enraged from this 10-second clip. It just annoyed me. Take a listen.
This scandal comes as no surprise. Speculation about the children has been simmering for years.
Does it make you sound like a better mom? It makes you sound like really kind of into yourself in a way. He describes her very well, and he does this by taking a look.
Absolute media manipulation. But I thought tonight this was really ridiculous.
And just when it seems like everything's been explained, new twists keep surfacing, making this royal story even messier than before. Medical professionals have explained that adjusting or switching epidural medication can happen in certain cases, but it's definitely not something done casually. Every birth has its own rhythm. Some go fast and smooth, others take time or need medical tweaks. And without access to private medical records, which of course remain confidential, no one outside that hospital room can truly confirm the exact order of what happened. Still, that hasn't stopped the internet from buzzing non-stop with theories. Then comes the debate about how the press was notified. Normally, royal births follow a very public traditional pattern, but when it came to Archie, Meghan and Harry took a different route, keeping things more personal and quiet. Supporters say that was totally fair. They were simply new parents wanting to protect their child's privacy. Critics, on the other hand, claim the change in routine stirred up confusion and raised more questions than answers. When timelines aren't crystal clear, people start linking clues, sometimes in reasonable ways, sometimes reaching too far. That's why it's key to separate solid facts from speculation. There's been no official probe, no confirmed wrongdoing, and no verified proof of deception, just a storm of opinions.
Like, why lie? It was just so truly, truly bizarre.
Why would you do that? That's not necessary.
Silence everybody and just produce a DNA sample or proof of delivery.
It's like she's playing a human being, like it's a performance.
If you had those things, it would be very easy just to put them out there and say, this is what happened. This is what it is.
I am sorry, but, and genuinely, I don't even mean to attack her. There was something frustrating about her, and I think he hits the nail on the head.
Contrasting takes from commentators and endless public curiosity. But when global figures open up about private moments, every tiny detail ends up under a magnifying glass. For some people, this whole situation sparks questions about honesty and openness. But for many of Meghan and Harry's supporters, it's simply a private family moment that never should have been picked apart like this in the first place. The truth is, without verified proof, all these claims stay in the zone of opinions and speculation. Still, the heated conversation itself shows just how divided public opinion has become. One side sees Meghan and Harry as setting healthy boundaries and protecting their peace, while the other side believes there are details that still need clearer answers. And once doubt starts spreading online, it doesn't fade away quietly. Another major talking point for critics is the recovery timeline described by Harry in his memoir. He wrote that Meghan was home, relaxed, and resting with baby Archie just a few hours after leaving the Portland hospital in central London. Some medical commentators have questioned whether that kind of fast recovery is realistic, especially after pain management procedures like an epidural. They explain that typically mothers and newborns are monitored for several hours, sometimes longer, to make sure everything's stable before heading home. There are usually baby checkups, discharge paperwork, and recovery evaluations that can take a bit of time. Supporters, however, respond that private hospitals often move faster, offering personalized care and quicker turnarounds for smooth, complication-free births. Every case is different, they insist. Still, skeptics point out that when you factor in the newborn assessments, post-birth checks, and even the drive from central London to Frogmore Cottage in Windsor, the timeline seems incredibly tight. It wasn't impossible, but it was tight enough to stir up serious debate. That's exactly where the questions started getting louder.
It bothers me first because it's a lie. She's not in the hospital trying to induce labor by twerking. The hospital will not give you a bed because you're trying to induce labor. You are not allowed to put up a camera, fixate it, and then both of you start twerking. Because in her mind, she was thinking, I'm gonna release this later in a Netflix doc or release it later to show people how relatable I am. Otherwise, you can have a cute moment with your husband without recording it. Like, why would you record this for any reason? Why would you record this in the hospital?
Why have they simply not made an announcement to the fact that all of the speculation about the children's arrival?
You need proof that I'm authentic? I just dropped myself twerking. I have proven that I am authentic because I twerked with my husband in a room.
So all of the pictures, my point is, out there were inconsistent with the idea of a real pregnancy.
Critics argue that the whole timeline feels rushed, almost too neat, like a few important details might have been glossed over. They ask why certain parts were described in ways that some professionals say don't match standard medical routines. And if one part feels off, they start wondering what else might have been simplified just to make the story sound smoother. At that point, it's not only about a hospital visit anymore, it's about trust and how believable the overall story feels. Then the spotlight shifts straight to the palace's communication. Normally, royal births follow a pretty strict routine. The monarch gets informed first, and official notice goes up, and the media gets the update almost immediately. But when Archie arrived, Prince Harry and Meghan took a different route, one that was far more private. Buckingham Palace first told reporters that Meghan was in labor, only to later reveal that Archie had already been born. That mix-up alone caused plenty of confusion and left the press frustrated and scrambling for clarity. Later on, Meghan gave a few explanations in different interviews about why the usual public alert wasn't followed. In one version, she said privacy was the top priority. In another, she mentioned that certain medical factors played a role. Critics say those shifting explanations sent mixed messages. Every time the story is retold, the mix of stress, emotion, and hindsight can change how things sound. The real issue here isn't just about timing or press updates, it's about how people see the story. When details shift even slightly, public trust starts to wobble. Some view it as normal human inconsistency, while others raise eyebrows and see potential red flags. Still, no official findings have confirmed any wrongdoing, and no verified proof of dishonesty, just plenty of unanswered questions. But in the royal world, even tiny gaps can turn into huge controversies. That's exactly why this debate refuses to die down. It's no longer just about a royal birth, it's about openness, tradition, and whether the story told to the world truly matches what happened behind palace doors. Why were there so many conflicting versions out there?
Buckingham Palace is being pressured to remove Prince Archie and Princess Elizabeth from the UK's royal line of succession until the Duchess provides absolute proof that she popped out both babies herself.
Even experienced royal journalists admitted they were baffled by how the timeline kept changing. Some reporters were told Archie had already been born hours earlier, while others heard Meghan was still in labor at the time of the official announcement. Those mixed updates didn't just make headlines awkward, they created serious confusion and a wave of doubt. When communication around such a major royal moment seems inconsistent, critics argue it chips away at the monarchy's image of precision and reliability. The palace is usually known for being sharp and perfectly coordinated. Supporters say, though, that mix-ups can easily happen when emotions are high and pressure is intense. No matter how it's seen, the extra secrecy didn't calm things down. It only made people more curious. And that curiosity led the spotlight right back to Portland Hospital in London, the exclusive facility where Archie was born. Known for its top-notch care, elite privacy standards, and history of celebrity patients, it became the new center of attention once Prince Harry revealed that Meghan received 2 epidurals during labor. That detail set off a wave of public discussion among medical professionals and commentators. An epidural isn't just a quick shot, it's a precise medical procedure. It involves carefully placing a small catheter near the spine to deliver steady pain relief throughout labor. Once it's in place, doctors can easily adjust the dosage without taking it out or inserting a new one. Because of that, some experts questioned why a second epidural would have been needed the way it was described. They explained that replacing or reinserting an epidural mid-labor can happen, but it's far from routine. It usually occurs only if the first placement wasn't working properly. When that happens, additional observation and safety checks are typically required. Critics argue that if such a situation did occur, it could have affected how quickly Meghan was able to leave the hospital afterward.
It was a dreadful thing to do and actually completely wrong.
Supporters push back, saying that no 2 births are ever exactly the same, and that memoirs often simplify complex medical details to make them easier to read. Then comes the recovery debate. Harry's version paints a picture of a very fast discharge from the hospital, with Meghan and baby Archie heading home just hours later. But medical guidelines usually suggest that new mothers, especially after anesthesia, are monitored closely for a while to keep track of blood pressure, mobility, and overall recovery. Since private medical records are confidential, no one outside the situation truly knows what happened, and that's exactly why so much guessing keeps swirling online. Still, critics point out that the idea of multiple epidurals followed by a same-day hospital discharge sounds unusual to them. They argue that the story, as told, might have been simplified for public reading, but supporters say it's completely unfair to break down such a personal medical moment without full context, and that ongoing clash of views is exactly what keeps this whole discussion alive. At its core, this isn't just about one hospital visit or one medical choice. It's about trust and how royal stories are shared with the world. When public accounts don't seem to match what some experts describe as standard medical practice, people start asking deeper questions. Is it just imperfect storytelling, memory shaped by emotion, or something more layered about how royal events get presented to maintain a certain image? There's still no verified evidence of dishonesty, no official reports, no confirmed findings, just a sea of differing interpretations, bold opinions, and a global audience analyzing every single word. And in the world of royalty, once uncertainty slips in, it doesn't just fade, it echoes loudly. Some wonder if the confusion comes from medical jargon being misunderstood, or if the story might have been told in a way that made it sound more dramatic than it actually was. That's the question critics keep circling back to. Because with Meghan's pregnancy story, even the tiniest detail that feels unclear seems to grow into a huge talking point. Giving birth is no small thing. Recovery takes time. That observation window after giving birth usually lasts close to 24 hours, but it can vary depending on the hospital's policies and how smooth the delivery was. Supporters of Meghan and Harry point out that private facilities sometimes allow new mothers to go home earlier if doctors believe everything looks good. Critics, however, still insist that the timeline described in Harry's memoir feels unusually fast. Things heat up even more when preeclampsia enters the discussion. Meghan has previously spoken about experiencing postpartum preeclampsia at a later pregnancy, not during Archie's birth, but the topic still grabs attention. Medical professionals explain that preeclampsia, whether during pregnancy or after, is a serious condition that needs close observation since it involves high blood pressure and other possible complications. If that kind of condition had been present at the time of delivery, doctors would almost certainly delay any discharge to ensure complete safety. That's basic protocol. And that's exactly where critics start raising eyebrows again. In Harry's book, the sequence of events moves at lightning speed: labor, medical care, and then home within hours. Some obstetricians who have spoken publicly say while early discharge is totally possible for healthy, uncomplicated births, combining anesthesia, possible medical concerns, and such a quick release would depend heavily on very specific medical evaluations. Without access to private medical files, no one outside that hospital can confirm the fine details. Still, skeptics argue that the way it's described in the memoir feels a little too streamlined compared to how childbirth care usually plays out. Supporters, on the other hand, defend the couple, saying memoirs aren't meant to sound like medical charts. They're emotional retellings of deeply personal experiences, not step-by-step clinical reports. Details can easily blur over time. Medical terms get mixed up. Memories get emotional, and big moments like childbirth can feel like hours, like minutes. That doesn't automatically mean anyone's being dishonest, but when the public story doesn't line up neatly with what some experts say is standard medical procedure, the doubts start getting louder. The tension grows even more because Meghan has publicly positioned herself as a strong voice for maternal health awareness, often highlighting how vital proper care and monitoring are for new mothers. Critics argue that if the birth timeline sounded too fast, it could unintentionally send the wrong signal about what recovery usually looks like. They say it might give people unrealistic expectations about how quickly someone can bounce back after giving birth. Supporters fire back, reminding everyone that no two births are ever the same, and every woman's recovery journey moves at its own pace. So now the debate isn't just about what hour things happened, it's about how believable the story feels and what kind of message it sends. At this point, it's about credibility, communication, and whether the public narrative truly matches medical reality. There's still no official finding of wrongdoing and no verified evidence proving anything false, just a flood of opinions, expert insights, and a royal birth story that refuses to fade away. And this is where the tension really peaks. Critics say that if Meghan's birth story doesn't align with the same maternal health standards she strongly promotes, it creates a credibility gap. But if the timeline truly is accurate, others argue that it may unintentionally clash with the message she's worked so hard to spread. No matter how it's viewed, the questions aren't disappearing, they're multiplying. Then things get even murkier when so-called insider claims start surfacing online. Reports mention people described as former Portland hospital staff who allegedly questioned a few small details from Prince Harry's memoir. One of those claims centers around the late-night food story he shared. Now, Portland Hospital is known for luxury care and five-star dining options, but a few unnamed sources supposedly said that the version in the book didn't quite match how meal service usually works there. Still, it's important to note these sources remain completely anonymous and haven't been verified in any official way. Another detail that sparked debate is Harry's mention of a secret elevator. People familiar with the hospital, including longtime observers, say the building absolutely prioritizes privacy, with restricted hallways and private access routes, but they dispute the idea of a hidden royal-style escape route exactly as the memoir described it. Critics claim this might be a case of the story being dramatized just a bit for effect. Supporters quickly push back, saying that calling a private or restricted elevator secret could just be personal wording, an emotional way of describing a secure, quiet exit rather than a literal hidden tunnel. On their own, these little details might seem harmless, things like food orders, elevators, and hallway layouts, but when multiple tiny inconsistencies pop up together, critics say it adds a layer of doubt to the bigger story. As the conversations kept spreading, the scrutiny shifted from the hospital details to the bigger picture. People began asking how much of the royal image is carefully managed and how much is genuine reality. Meghan and Harry's version of events has always leaned toward independence and authenticity, showing themselves as breaking free from tradition, but now that image is under a sharper lens than ever. Critics argue that too many elements of their story feel camera-ready, almost like scenes from a film rather than real-life moments. They question whether certain parts were highlighted or softened to maintain a relatable public persona. Supporters push back hard, saying the couple has every right to protect their privacy and control their own story, especially after years of non-stop media pressure and harsh treatment. Social media has only added more chaos to the mix. Comment sections, podcasts, and online threads are filled with heated opinions, some analyzing word choice from the memoir, others dissecting past interviews frame by frame. It's become a digital tug-of-war between people who believe Meghan and Harry are unfairly targeted and those convinced their public narrative doesn't always line up. And that's where it gets interesting. The debate isn't just about what happened anymore, it's about who gets to tell the story. In a world where every royal gesture gets captured, reposted, and debated by millions, truth can feel less like a single fact and more like a matter of perspective. Experts in media culture say this entire situation perfectly shows how modern royalty is caught between old-school image control and the new age of transparency. One side wants the polished, elegant royal image to stay intact, the other demands honesty, even when it's uncomfortable. Somewhere between those two forces, Meghan and Harry are trying to write their own version of the truth, and it's clear that every word, photo, and timeline choice will keep being examined. Critics say the story starts to feel too polished, like it's been carefully shaped instead of being a fully candid retelling. Supporters quickly respond that memoirs are meant to capture feelings, emotions, and atmosphere, not serve as exact blueprints or meal service logs. Candace Owens has been one of the loudest voices pointing out these inconsistencies, saying that when small parts of a story seem unclear, it's reasonable for the public to start asking bigger questions. She presents it as healthy scrutiny, not direct accusation. Meanwhile, Meghan and Harry's defenders argue that anonymous quotes and unverified online chatter shouldn't outweigh the couple's first-hand experience. They insist that people are too quick to doubt them based on speculation rather than facts. Since no verified documentation has ever been made public, everything surrounding this story stays locked in the world of opinion and interpretation. And now the discussion has grown beyond hospital procedures. It's turned into a debate about narrative control itself. Was the memoir just written with emotional flair and dramatic pacing, or did selective storytelling accidentally create confusion where clarity could have ended all speculation? To this day, there's been no official statement proving fabrication, no confirmed evidence showing deception, just a storm of whispered claims, public commentary, and endless analysis over a royal birth that continues to captivate the world. Still, every time a new claim surfaces, it seems to pull parts of the public further away from trust and deeper into doubt. People keep circling back to the same sticking points. 2 epidurals, the same-day discharge, the food story, the secret elevator. To critics, these details add up to something that doesn't quite fit. To supporters, they're harmless moments blown out of proportion. Critics have started asking why those extra details were even included in the first place. Were they just harmless mix-ups, emotional exaggerations in a memoir, or were they written to make the story sound more dramatic and movie-like? For skeptics, the inconsistencies don't feel random anymore. They feel like something that deserves a real explanation. If the timeline seems unusually fast, if the rumored hospital recollections floating online don't fully match the memoir, and if public statements have shifted over time, people can't help but ask, why? Why risk any kind of confusion over something as deeply personal as the birth of your own child? Some observers suggest it might come down to control. In a royal world where every move is analyzed, crafting your own version of the truth could have been their way of taking back power.
Others believe it might have been about relatability, showing Meghan as a woman handling pain, pressure, and the eyes of the entire world all at once. And then there are people who think the secrecy had less to do with Meghan herself and more to do with protecting the royal family's image, keeping the institution free from more public drama. Candace Owens has been one of the most vocal figures fueling that conversation, leaning into the online mistrust and amplifying the growing questions. Her stance is simple. If the small details don't fully add up, then the bigger story deserves a closer look. But Meghan and Harry's supporters strongly push back. They insist that memoirs aren't supposed to read like official medical files, and that human memory, especially in emotional, high-pressure moments like childbirth, can easily condense, dramatize, or simplify what happened without any bad intent. Here's the truth. There's still no verified proof of deception, and no official report claiming the birth story was fabricated. What really exists are mixed interpretations, anonymous opinions, and a memoir told through one person's emotional lens. But perception is powerful. Once public trust starts to shake, even a little, it's tough to rebuild that confidence again. At this stage, the debate has grown far beyond talk of epidurals or early discharges. It's now centered on credibility itself. Was this a carefully managed public relations move, a storytelling choice that simply backfired, or just a deeply personal moment retold under the weight of worldwide attention? The answer depends entirely on who you ask and what they choose to believe. One thing's for sure, though, the conversation around transparency, truth, and control over personal stories isn't slowing down anytime soon. What started as a simple birth announcement has turned into a much larger cultural debate. From memoir contradictions to hospital discussions, Meghan's pregnancy story continues to spark intense curiosity and endless interpretations. Some say it's just imperfect storytelling, messy, emotional, and human.
Others claim it all feels a bit too polished to be pure coincidence. Either way, the public is still staring at timelines that don't quite fit together and details that seem wrapped in mystery. And while Candace Owens didn't start this wave of suspicion, she definitely turned up the volume. Her commentary didn't create the doubts, but it reignited conversations that had already been simmering for years. Supporters insist this whole situation is just speculation that's been stretched way too far. Critics, on the other hand, argue that the timelines don't quite line up, and that every new explanation only seems to make things more confusing. When the story keeps shifting, public trust starts to shake again. But here's where things get even more intense. The pregnancy timeline isn't the only chapter people are picking apart. Thomas Markle, Meghan's father, has publicly made claims about inconsistencies related to her age and early life details. Those statements haven't been verified, and Meghan herself hasn't confirmed them, but the headlines alone were enough to ignite another wave of online discussion and curiosity. Suddenly, the spotlight feels even hotter, and every detail of her past is back under a microscope. So now everyone's asking, are these just innocent misunderstandings that fame blew out of proportion? Or are they signs of a story that's been carefully managed since the very beginning? That's the question dividing audiences around the world right now. If you thought the timeline mystery was wild, the next chapter might just surprise you even more. Our previous deep dive connects directly to this topic. It unpacks those early life claims and explains exactly how they tie in to everything discussed here. Before you go, make sure to hit that like button, share this video, and drop your thoughts in the comments. We want to know what you think about all of this. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss our next breakdown, where we dig even deeper into the royal stories everyone's still whispering about. This is Cinema Royale, and we're staying locked in, keeping both eyes wide open for whatever unfolds next.